In this video, I built 15 different characters from the new game Marvel Rivals. I built about half of the characters that are in the game. There are 33 characters in the game currently, but I only started off with 15. If this video does really good and you guys like it, I will make a part 2 building a lot more of the characters from the game. The character designs in Marvel Rivals are really unique, so it was kind of hard to pull off some of them, but I'm super happy with how these came out. And here are all 15 of the characters that I made. We're going to go through them one by one, and I'm going to show you the different details and talk about some of the parts I used for them. And in the next few weeks, I'll be posting shorts on exactly how to build each of these characters, so stay tuned for that. I'll even show you how to build some of the brick-built characters, like Jeff and Groot. Subscribe if you guys want to see a lot more LEGO videos in the future. And without further ado, let's get into our first character. The first character we're going to take a look at is Warlock. Now we'll be going in alphabetical order, so that's why he is first. Now a big part of him is he is gold for the most part, and I don't have many golden minifigure faces, and I don't have the official Warlock minifigure, so I had to settle for the 20th anniversary LEGO Harry Potter Quirrell face. If we flip it around, you can see Voldemort there on the back. I also gave him this Luke Skywalker dark gray hair. I used this torso, I just flipped it around, and then some gold arms along with some hands. And then I also used these Star Wars droid legs, which I think works pretty well. I also just ended up giving him this red cape. Now, I would have liked to have the cape kind of come up more on the front here with those like lightning looking things on his chest, but there just wasn't any torso that fit that well. I also built his little like staff weapon thing here with just some simple gold pieces. I would have liked to add some more points, especially in the middle, but for size this is the best I could do. But I think he turned out pretty good to his in-game counterpart. Now our next one is kind of a 2-in-1. We've got Bruce Banner along with the Hulk. So for this, I actually just used the official Hulk Big Fig minifigure for Hulk. This is actually the only Hulk I have, but I still think it works pretty well. His pants should be more of like a black or something. But other than that, I think it's good. And then for the Bruce Banner minifigure, I used these legs along with this purple torso. Probably the hardest part of him was finding the purple torso. In-game has like a purple suit with a tie. I just didn't have any of those. A Joker torso would probably work pretty well. And then I just gave him this face with these glasses along with this hairpiece, which I think works pretty well. And then I just built him up this custom little gun with a few green studs on the side, which I think works pretty well. And of course you could go ahead if you want and brick build the Monster Hulk style, which would be absolutely huge. One way I could improve this Bruce Banner minifigure is by giving him a green belt. I actually have one on the way, so when I make a video on how to build him, that'll be in the video. But sadly, I was not able to get it in time for this video. Next up, we've got Captain America. I'm super happy with how this minifigure came out. He uses a combination of 3 different minifigures for his body. I used this helmet, face, and torso all from the same Captain America minifigure, and then I use these Tom Holland SpiderMan legs, which work really well for him. His arms are the Captain Falcon arms from Marvel Series 2, and then I gave him this OG Captain America shield, which looks awesome. And then finally I just gave him this brown belt piece, which works perfectly. I really like the look of the arms on this torso. And the legs, I thought might look a little bit out of place, but I think that it works really, really well. The dual molding really helps to capture his like bottom pads around his shins. Now this next character is actually 2 minifigures in one. It is Cloak and Dagger. Now Cloak was actually pretty simple to make. I used a lot of Harry Potter Dementor pieces, including his torso and this little ghost piece along with the cape. For the face, I used the face from a recent Mandalorian minifigure, and then I just used this newer hood piece, which I think works pretty well. Now, there's probably a better torso out there for this, but I had this one on hand, and I think it works pretty well. And then for Dagger, I just used this white torso with this kind of zip up here. The torso was pretty hard to find. I used these legs from the Unicorn CMF minifigure. I really like them because it just has this slight hint of light blue, which I wasn't really able to incorporate on the torso, so I'm happy I was able to on the legs. And then I just used Luna Lovegood's face, which I think works perfect, along with this hairpiece. Now, I'm sure there are better hairpieces out there, but this is the best that I had. And I think they actually turned out really, really good. Now, this next one wasn't too difficult. It is Doctor Strange. I used the hair, head, and cape from the No Way Home Doctor Strange, but for the torso, I actually used one of the Dungeons & Dragons minifigure torsos, along with the legs, which works perfect because this minifigure so happened to have this little locket around his neck with a little circle here, which looks just like the Eye of Agamotto. And the color scheme overall fits well with this dark red, and even giving him some brown boots, along with the red around his waist. So I feel like this torso and legs were just built for Doctor Strange. Now we've got the tree himself, Groot. Now this one I actually completely brick built, except I did use this Groot minifigure head. Ideally, I would want to make it in a dark tan instead of this brown, but my only big Groot minifigure has a brown head. I think using the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Groot head would work best for this, but I'm super happy with how the build itself turned out. His arms can move up and down, and they can also move at the elbow. I just used a hinge plate here, so his arms are really flexible. And then his legs, I really like how I was able to make them kind of skinny at the top and then really bulk up at the bottom, and even give him these little toe looking things. And these can just move out like this. They can't move forward, but his waist can move around, which is awesome. And compared to another minifigure, he's pretty accurate to the size he is in the game. Like I said, I will eventually show you guys how to build him with all of your bricks, but I think he turned out awesome. I also really like his torso. I really tried to build up his big chest here, and I even incorporated some green spikes on the side. Next up is Iron Fist. Now, LEGO has only ever made one official Iron Fist minifigure, which I so happen to have. So for that, I used his face, which works perfect, along with this spiked hairpiece. For his right arm, I just made it fully yellow because he does have some yellow wraps around there, along with his yellow hand there. And on the right side here, he has less wraps, so I just gave him a tan arm along with a yellow hand. For torso and legs, I'm not super happy with how that turned out. But I just used these Lloyd torso and legs here. I didn't really have a lot of green torsos that would have worked for this, and I didn't want to use just the official Iron Fist torso, so this was my next best option. This next one was super easy to make. It was Iron Man. Now, he actually has a pretty unique look in the game, so there aren't really many Iron Man minifigures like him, but I used these older torso because it had the triangle in the center, and then I think this helmet just fit best out of all the Iron Man helmets that I have. And then finally, these legs here. I tried to find one that had a smaller bit of gold for the knee pads, because most of the Iron Man minifigures I have a large portion of the legs as gold. And then I just gave him some thrusters on the bottom and also on his hands for his repulsors. So yeah, super easy minifigure to make, and I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. I feel like the helmet could have been a little better, but overall he turned out good. Next, we got everyone's favorite and my main in the game, Jeff the Land Shark. Now, this is another brick built character here, and I'm extremely happy with how he turned out. I think he just looks adorable. Now, in game, he is more of a like sand blue color, but I would have done all of this gray here in sand blue if I had the pieces, but instead I just did it in light gray, which I think still looks awesome. The big things I wanted to include was his collar in pink here, which I was able to include, and I also wanted to make sure under him was a little bit of white, so I did that. Now, I want to add his teeth, but sadly I don't have the right piece in white. It would go right here, and it would go down. It's just a plate with modified spikes. I'll put a picture up on screen of the piece. But that would look awesome, but I just can't find one in white in my collection right now. I really like how his tail turned out, and also on his feet, instead of just using normal circle tiles, I used these arch tiles, which makes it actually look like it's his feet facing forward, which I think is just adorable. Next up, we've got Loki. I am super duper happy with how he turned out. He looks very accurate to his in-game counterpart. Again, he has a lot of gold, but I just used the face and the helmet from the 2013 Loki minifigure, along with his scepter with a green gem in there. I used this white ruffle piece around his neck. I gave him just a normal green cape, which looks pretty cool, but in the game his cape does have some gold on it, but sadly there are no Lego capes that are green like that have a nice design on them. I actually used Professor Flitwick's torso from the Ravenclaw house banner for his torso because it is like a olive green kind of like jacket overlay. It does have a tie, which doesn't look exactly right. And then finally I used C-3PO's legs for the bottom, which were some of my only gold legs I had that had printing on them, but I think it looks awesome. Next up is Magneto. Now he actually was a challenge to build mainly because I couldn't find the right piece for his helmet. I eventually settled on this War Machine helmet without the actual faceplate on, which I think turned out alright. Now I would have liked to keep it in this lighter silvery gray color, but I did not have an Iron Man helmet in this color that was the faceplate was able to come off. I used Balin Skull's face, which I think works almost perfect for this. I used the Whiplash's torso along with his shoulder pads here. One arm I left bare, which is very similar to in-game. And for his legs, I believe I used the Iron Man Mark I legs, and I also gave him this cape from The Mandalorian. I would have liked to get some red hints in there, just like the skin in the game, but I sadly was not able to do that. And also, I think the official Magneto helmet piece in this silver would look awesome. Next, we've got Rocket Raccoon. Now, he was definitely a challenge to build. Let me move his massive gun out of the way. But for the actual Rocket Raccoon minifigure, I used the torso and head and tail from an official Rocket Raccoon from Guardians 2. I replaced the hands with these orange hands, and then I just gave him these light blue legs, which I think worked alright. Now in game, Rocket is more of a brown raccoon, but I don't have any brown Rocket minifigures, I only have this gray one. And then for his huge gun, this is the build I did. It was a little hard to do, but I think in the end it turned out alright, and it looks so funny being held in his tiny little hands. Next, we've got another easy character. This time it is SpiderMan. I used the No Way Home Spider-Man face along with this comic Spider-Man torso, switched it out for some blue hands, and then I just gave him some normal blue legs. I'd like to give him some dual molded blue and red, but I don't have any Spider-Man minifigures that have that. Overall, I think he turned out pretty good, and also looks unique from a lot of other Spider-Man figures we've gotten in the past. Now let's move on to StarLord. This one was actually the first one I built because I thought he'd be pretty easy. I just used the Guardians 2 StarLord helmet. Now I do wish he had blue eyes instead, but obviously he does not. Ignore the Han Solo face underneath. But we've got the Han Solo torso here because this is like the only torso I have that has a blue jacket. Underneath I would have liked something different than a white shirt. I just gave him the StarLord blaster pieces because I think they worked good. And then I used the Marvel Whiplash legs here for the silver on his legs. I think he turned out alright. Definitely not my favorite that I've made in this video, but I think he still looks pretty good. And that was my showcase of all 15 of these Marvel Rival characters that I made in Lego. Like I said, if you guys want to see a part 2, then make sure that you hit the like button and comment down below what characters I should make for the next video. And while you guys are down there, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the part 2 if it comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.